With WWE announcing that Eric Bischoff will be taking over a new backstage role over on SmackDown, many are wondering what could Eazy-E possibly bring to the table that Vince McMahon can't do on his own. And even though McMahon will probably just end up micromanaging and handcuffing all of Bischoff's ideas, there are still things that the former WCW president can do better than his former rival. So without further ado, here are 7 things that Eric Bischoff can book better than Vince McMahon. Cruiserweights. While the Cruiserweight Classic was outstanding and 205 Live has improved since its debut, WWE has never been great at showcasing lighter weight talents. Even before their current iteration, Vince has always been known to have a proclivity towards the bigger persuasion. However, while WCW may have been where the big boys play, they also took the time to recognize and highlight lighter weight individuals in a way that Vince McMahon has never been able to do. Factions. When it comes to discussing which faction is the greatest of all time, for many it comes down to either the Horsemen or the New World Order. And while he didn't create the Horsemen stable, and some say that the NWO was nothing more than a ripoff in the first place, a statement which itself has been disputed, let me remind you that this video is about booking, not creating. And while neither group was done flawlessly by Eric Bischoff, it is clear that a lot of what was done right about them did happen under his watch, especially when it comes to the idea of booking them to go against each other. Successfully handling 2 of the greatest groups of all time simultaneously is a very impressive feat, and it's one that Vince McMahon can't say he's done. A 3-hour tour. Some people may not remember, but Monday Night Raw was once only a 1-hour show. It's now triple that, with many people complaining that it's far too long. However, something else that some people have forgotten is that WCW Monday Nitro was a 3-hour show for a period of time during its run, and when it was, it didn't seem to get the same level of complaints that Raw is getting right now. Goldberg. Take an athlete who has the right look, and even if he's green to the industry, if you book him right, you can manufacture him straight into superstar status, which is something that Eric Bischoff did with Bill Goldberg better than anything that Vince McMahon could ever do with anyone else. And while the obvious retort to this would be, what about the Ultimate Warrior? Let's just remember that Jim Hellwig had 2 years of being a professional wrestler under his belt before he ever went to the WWF. Meanwhile, Bill Goldberg, on the other hand, went straight into WCW. Foreign diplomacy. Vince's reputation for handling foreign talent and those with accents has been spotty at best. But despite a discrimination lawsuit filed against WCW, the company, at least for a while on the surface, featured diversity better than WWF, working well with others. Aside from the original ECW invasion, taking occasional digs at the competition, and mostly forgotten angles like the NWA in WWF during the Attitude Era, the WWE universe has mostly lived in a vacuum unto itself. But when we look at other companies like New Japan, Ring of Honor, and even AEW among others, we see that other promotions tend to work together more frequently than WWE does, and WCW was no exception to that rule, with everything from WCW having the J Ground to New Japan having their own version of the NWO. Bischoff was not shy about working with other promotions, and this is something that made WCW really special. In the spotlight. Since the days of the Attitude Era, WWE has had 2 major problems when it comes to dealing with their stars that they positioned in the highest parts of the company. Either one, they can't keep them around for one reason or another, and they just leave, or they put someone in the top spot that many fans seem to hate. Bischoff, on the other hand, had no problem keeping major stars in the limelight, although some would make the opposite argument and say that he goes too far in the other direction by keeping them there for way too long. But regardless, many fans will note that while wrestlers like Hulk Hogan were considered to be passé by Vince McMahon, Eazy-E was still able to use them with great effectiveness, enough so that he was even able to take that #1 spot away from WWF for a short while. Well, there you go, 7 things that Eric Bischoff does better in booking than Vince McMahon. But what are your thoughts? Let me know down in the comments, and please support this channel over on Patreon like The Woos, Jesus Farrow, and Richard Lee. Thanks so much for the support, guys, and as always, Dave knows.